Welcome to Grace Fellowship. How are y'all doing? Dude, I love that. That's awesome. Y'all actually responded. Didn't act like y'all are asleep. That's cool. So how was your week? Was it cold? How many of you enjoyed the snow? All right. How many of you would rather have snow than ice? Yes, of course. It's kind of sad when you get out of school and it's just ice and you can't really go do anything. And now they got to play in the snow, make snowmen and snow angels and throw snowballs. It was awesome. So fun times, fun times. Glad you were here. We are in a series. Chris started it last week, and we are going to continue that series today. And super excited about that. Hopefully you didn't miss out on it last week. Come Alive in 25. Chris started it. And it was a way to kick off the series. And if you missed it, I would encourage you to go back and listen to it. There are I'll refer to it a couple of times in here, but that's not enough. That's just kind of a Cliff Note version. You need to go back and get the real deal. And he actually, he refers to some lyrics of a song in there like he always does. So you need to hang out and find that, okay? But before we go have our time right here, let me go to the Lord in prayer, okay? Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for today. God, it's not by accident that there is anybody in this room right now. You knew that they would be here. You knew that they'd be watching online. And Father, you have them here for a reason and a purpose. So God, I ask that you would remove all the distractions, that you would open our minds and our heart to hear exactly what you want to say to us this morning. God, we love you and we praise you. It's in your Son's name. Amen. In my office, I have two marker boards, and they're 2 months each, okay? So I basically have a quarter of the year on my wall, and about a week and a half ago, I went up there and I raced. I had October, November, December, and January. And so I went up there and I raced them all and moved January up to the left corner, and I put February, March, and April, and kind of just put the dates in there, and then I put some key things it's about 2 or 3 things I need to keep my eye on, and then I'll let somebody else come back later and put more details in it because they can have better writing, and my writing is terrible and I couldn't even read it, so I'm going to let somebody else come back. But here's the deal. I sat down at my desk after I did that, and I started working at my desk, and I was probably doing something very, very spiritual when I was doing this, but I looked down at my hands, and I had ink on my hands. And I'm like, how in the world did I do this? And I can understand right here, you know what I'm saying? If you're writing stuff, you get a little ink right here. But it was on my fingers and my fingertips. And it wasn't even just on this hand. It was on this hand. And this hand had no business being up there. There was no reason for it to be up there. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, how in the world did this happen? And somebody came up to me after the first service and said, well, how did it happen? And I said, I still don't know. I still have no clue how it happened. But here's the deal. You remember when you were in grade school and you went from using a pencil where they trusted you with a ballpoint pen? You know what I'm saying? You felt like, oh, I have arrived. This is the place. And you have this ballpoint pen. And every now and then with your ballpoint pen, you don't know how it happens, but it busts. And you maybe don't even know it's happening. And next thing you look down, and it's on your hands, it's on your desk, it's on your paper you're working on, and you're just hoping and praying that it's not on your clothes, because if it's on your clothes, you're going to get home, mom's going to get mad, and you have to deal with all that again. So it's just kind of, you look at it and you go, my gosh, now how did it happen? And a lot of times I didn't even see it till somebody pointed it out. Or I had a bad habit of putting my pens in my mouth. And some of y'all are like, I know where you're going with this because you did the same thing. The next thing you know, you're going, and you realize that you have ink in your mouth. Now, the best part about that is you did get to go down to class and go to the bathroom and get it all cleaned up and everything like that, so you got out of class. But it's kind of, when you think about that ink, it's everywhere. And you don't even know it's there until maybe somebody points it out. And I think a lot of times that is the same picture of life, especially in relationships. Because those relationships that we are engaged in, the relationships that we have in our life, they just kind of rub off on us. And a lot of times we don't even know that it's happening. It just happens. So the people that are around you are impacting the life that you're living. Now, why is that such a big deal? Why does it matter? Why should it matter that you should be concerned about the friends that you're surrounding yourself with? There's a speaker, and he wrote books, and he spoke on leadership and life and all these things. And his name is Jim Rohan, and he said this statement: "You will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Think about that for just a second. The people that you spend the most time with, that is who you are becoming. The way they act, the way they speak, the way they think, That's who you're becoming. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important that you begin to surround yourself with the right people. And I would say this, that those people, those 5 people in your life would be your power 5. Those are the ones that have the power in your life to influence you in one direction or another. This last week, Chris started the series, Come Alive in 25, where he talked about how important it is to understand that God has so much more for us. And he referred to the fact that when you give your life to Jesus, the old is gone and the new has come. The old nature, the old you is gone, and now you are a new person. But our tendency is to drift back and let the old nature come in. And he had this statement. He said, our heart's affection and our mind's attention will determine our life's direction. So where's your focus? What are you focused on right now? Because what you are focused on will determine where you end up. That'll be your direction. That's the way you're living your life. And I feel like that's so foundational to this series. And I want us to take it a different step. I want to take a step further today. And I want us to talk about relationships. I want to talk specifically about your power 5. I want you to do this. Look at your hand like this for just a second. Just look at your hand. And think about who are the 5 people in your life right now that are the most influential in your life. Okay? Now, make sure that as you do it, just take one hand down as you name that. Take them all the way down, okay? Now, I'd start on one end and go to the other end. Don't start on the ends and come to the middle. That could create some problems, okay? But who are your power 5? Who are the power 5 in your life right now? Because that is so important. Look at this statement. Did I go back to the other statement? I'm sorry, Ashley. I'm going to refer to it again. Where am I at? Next statement, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. Your choice of friends determines your choice of future. The friends that you are choosing to put in your life right now is the choice you are making about your future. So what does your future look like? What does your future look like? Now, this is kind of a message that you hear a lot of times with students. We talk about students because they're always concerned about students hanging out with the wrong friends. And as parents, you're always like, yeah, you're hanging out with the wrong friends. You're going to make some bad choices. You better be careful. And then it gets to the point that when you do talk about them, they run away and they push away from you. So all you do is you talk to God about it because you need them to turn around because you understand that the future, the direction that they're going is going to impact their life. But let's take them out of the picture. What about you? It's not just something for students. It's not just something for kids. It's you as well. The choices that you make right now are determining the future that you will have. So who are your power 5? Are they helping you? Are they getting you where you need to be? What does it look like? What does that friend look like? When I was in high school, I had one of my best friends. His name was Matt. Matt went to church with me. Matt went to school with me. He was 1 year younger than me. But here's the deal. Matt was crazy, okay? He was just fun. Great guy to hang out with. He's actually a pastor down in Baton Rouge, which is about as crazy as me being a pastor here, okay? If you'd ever thought. But we had a thing when we walked through the halls at school or anywhere we saw each other, we'd walk up and we'd just do this, okay? We go like that. Now stay with me here for just a second. Bear with me. Because what we had to check is, okay, we give them a 1 if we were clear, and 2 if we had a bat in the cave. You following me? You know what I'm saying? Okay? Because if you had a bat in the cave, you wanted somebody to tell you had a bat in the cave because you wanted to make sure you looked good for the ladies and you didn't embarrass yourself. Matt was a true friend because he would say, hey, dose rock, you got it, come on now. All right? And that's what we're looking for. But in all seriousness, what kind of characteristics are you looking for? What are you looking for in that power 5 friend? What are we looking for? What do we need to have? Now, I want us to talk about some characteristics, and we're going to go down that road. But let me just preface it by saying this. I come at this discussion from a biblical worldview. I look at it from God's perspective because God's changed my life, okay? He's given me reason. He's given me purpose. And so I'm going to come at it from a very much a God-focused standpoint. But there's some characteristics that I will talk about. Whether you're here, you don't believe in God, you're just trying out this church thing or whatever, I feel like there's some of the things we're going to talk about that will benefit every relationship and help you find those people in your life that will help you. Okay? So stick with me on that. And the first characteristic is this. Look at this. The right friend loves Jesus. They love Jesus. They're like-minded. They're going in the same direction as you. They have the right perspective on life. They see things the way that you see things. They understand that it's not about them and it's not about you, it's about God. Look at this verse. Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And second is equally important, love your neighbor as yourself." I truly believe that until someone loves Jesus, they truly can't love another person. Now, you can love, but you can't love to the quality, to the degree that God wants us to. And so you want that person to be completely focused on God, that they love Jesus. And they're moving in that direction. And it's not about them, it's not about you, it's about God, and you're like-minded. And one of the best things about this is there's something that takes place when you have a friend that loves Jesus the way you love Jesus. There's a connection, there's a unity. There's a bond there because you have the same reason. You have the same purpose. You have the same direction. Now, let me just say this real quick. And this is a freebie. I'm not going to charge you for this at all. Not everybody that says they love Jesus loves Jesus. Okay? Just being honest with you. You know that. Just because they say they love Jesus, just because they come to church, just because they have a Christian shirt on or they have a sticker on their car or whatever it may be, just because they say they love Jesus doesn't mean they love Jesus. So you got to be very cautious and careful in selecting that Power Five. Just last week I got through reading the book of John. And at the end of John, Jesus has been crucified. He'd come back to life. He'd interacted with the disciples several times. And at one point in time, Peter and some of the other disciples went fishing. And they were out in a boat. And they were off the shore. And Jesus is walking on the shore. They can't tell it's Jesus. It's too far of a distance. And Jesus screams out, "Hey, have you caught any fish?" And they fished all night, caught nothing. Nothing. And he says, "Throw the nets on the other side of the boat." And they threw the nets on the other side of the boat, and it was just massive amounts of fish. And then the disciples looked, and now they could tell that was Jesus. And Peter, I love Peter, man. Peter's crazy, crazy cool. Peter just jumps in the water, swims to shore. He just swims to Jesus, leaves the other guys to deal with the fish. He swam to see Jesus, and he gets up there, and he and Jesus are having a dialogue, having a conversation. And if you are familiar with it, you may know the story, but the story is this. Jesus is talking to Peter, and he says, "Do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes." He says, "Feed my sheep." And he does that 3 times. And the third time, Peter's getting kind of frustrated with him. But then Jesus finishes that dialogue, that conversation with Peter, and he says this, "Follow me. Follow me." Do you want to know who loves Jesus? Are they following Jesus? Does their life look like Jesus? Because everything else is lip service. And if you want the Power 5 friend to be someone that loves Jesus, they need to be living a life that is following Jesus. So be very careful in that process to make sure that person loves Jesus. The next one is this. The right friend cares about me. Who doesn't want a friend that cares about them? I mean, I want a friend that cares about me and is there for me. Look at this verse in Galatians. Share each other's burdens, and in this way, obey the law of Christ. I'll be honest with you. I'm always honest with you when I get up on stage. Here's the deal, guys. I love Christmas. I love decorations. I actually despise from my inner being putting them up. It is the worst. It is the worst. And then put him in the attic is the next level of worst. It is horrible putting him in the attic. But then the worst of the worst is that dadgum tree box that is so awkward. It's hard to carry, getting out. And I can remember this last time I picked it up and I'm walking through the house. I'm trying to maneuver through doors to get to the garage. And all of a sudden, my wife walks up behind me. She says, I'll get this in. And she grabs the handle, and I grab the other handle. And we're able to kind of maneuver through the laundry room and get to the garage where we'll put it up in the attic. She disappeared on me then. She said, you're on the own on the attic part. She left, but that's what Galatians is talking about. When you have someone that cares, they come alongside you and they help carry the load. When you're struggling, when you have something going on in life, they come alongside you and help you. They carry the weight. They're there to help. No matter what that issue is, no matter what the struggle is, they're there. It could be something physical. It could be you're moving, or you got some project going on in the house or whatever, and they're there to help you. Or it can be something as simple as sitting down and listening to them process some conflict in their home. But you need those people in your life that genuinely care about you. Now, we're going to come back to this because I think we're going to talk about another characteristic in just a minute that has that same part of care that takes it to a totally different level. Here's the next characteristic. The right friend challenges me. The right friend challenges me. The right friend challenges you. The right friend desires for you to be the very best that you possibly can be. They don't want to leave you here. They want you to be better. And sometimes, here's the crazy thing, sometimes friends can see the potential in you when you can't. And you need those friends to encourage you and challenge you to get to that next level. To challenge you to say, hey, step it up, move this way. You need to go in this direction. You need to do this. You need those challenging in your life. Look at this proverb. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. I'm from Louisiana, okay, from Bossier, Shreveport area, which is, some people say that's East Texas, basically. But I was in Louisiana, grew up in Louisiana, and here's the deal. Everybody, all the adult men had pocket knives. My dad had a pocket knife, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. He had a pocket knife, and I longed for the day that I would get a pocket knife for Christmas, for my birthday or something. I got that pocket knife, and I lost it. And then I got another one, I lost it. And eventually, we just don't give me pocket knives anymore because I lose them. But there are pocket knives there, and I remember when I married my wife, my father-in-law, if you ever ask him for a pocket knife, he had his pocket knife, he goes, got my pants on, don't I? Got my pants on. You know, wearing sweats, didn't matter. He had them, pajamas, it didn't matter. He had his pocket knife in his pocket. So, but here's the deal. This is the thing my dad did. He said having a pocket knife that was not sharp was useless. So I can still remember him coming to the table and putting that wet rock on the table and then spitting on it, which I guess that's the reason it's called a wet rock. I don't know. I think it's kind of gross, but anyway, it's what he did. Maybe it's what you're supposed to do. And he'd take his pocket knife and he would just sit there and he'd go back and forth on that knife. And he'd chisel away all the edges, all the little pieces of nicks and stuff like that, so he could make it as sharp as it needed to be. And I used to love, because he would take a piece of paper, and he said, okay, if he could take his knife and go like that, and it'd cut just like that, he'd put it up. He was done. He was done. Guys, that's the kind of friendships we need in our life. We need those type of friends. They're going to come alongside us and knock off the edges to help us to be as sharp as we possibly can be. And that, listen to me, that is not easy. That's not comfortable. Just think about knocking off the edges. That's difficult. That's painful. But we need those types of people in our life. They're going to help us be the sharpest and be the best that we possibly can be. They're going to challenge us. And I know this for a fact. Sometimes, you and me, whenever people challenge us, we like to push back. Don't push me out of my comfort zone. I like kind of the lane I'm in right now. Don't make me be better. And we need those people in our lives. They're going to be that wet rock that's going to challenge us to be a better version of ourselves. Now, this part right here connects with, do they love Jesus? Because it's not enough just to be the best version of who I think I am or they think I am. I want a friend that's going to push me to the point where I need to be with Jesus and how Jesus sees me. Don't be content with just being enough. Be what God made you to be. And you need those friends in your life that are going to push you to get to that level, to get to that point. Don't settle. Don't settle. The next one is this. The right friend encourages me. Who in their right mind, think about this for just a second. If I gave you an option, To hang out with a friend that encourages you or hang out with a friend that discourages you? Which direction are you going to go? We're going to go to encouragement all the time, aren't we? Because there's enough discouragement in the world that we live in today. There's enough things going on in our world today that are discouraging, whether it's war, whether it's the political front, whether it's, this tragedies going on in West Coast. There's enough discouragement. And in fact, if you look at your social media right now, there's always that friend of yours or someone that you follow that has a nicer car, or their kids are much better than your kids, or they went on this amazing vacation. You're like, I'm barely keeping my head above water. And that discourages you. But you need someone that's going to speak life into you. Look at what it says in Hebrews. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. I want somebody in my life, I want my Power Five to be someone that doesn't just happen to encourage me every now and then, but they look for ways to encourage me. They look for ways, they keep an eye on my life so they can say, hey, man, you did a great job here. You did a good job here. I need that encouragement. And I love this part right here. It says, let us not neglect our meeting together. Guys, we need to, with your Power Five, you need to make sure that you're spending time with them so they can get to know you better, so they know how to encourage you better. But you need to spend time with them. If you don't want to spend time with them, or if they don't want to spend time with you, are they part of your Power Five? Now, sometimes you don't want them in your life because they speak the truth, but you want them to speak the truth in love. You want them to encourage you in that way. Let us not neglect meeting together. Now, I'm going to preface this next one. This next one's a doozy. All right, you ready? This is the one you need to get ready for because this is the most difficult one out here. This is the characteristic we look for. The right friend calls me out. The right friend calls me out. When you're going in this direction and you begin to veer off a little bit, you need that friend that's going to come alongside and say, hey, now, come on. Come on. You're going in the wrong direction. Look at this passage in Galatians. Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Guys, we need a friendship with someone that is going to come alongside and say, hey, you need to get back on the track. This last week, our staff went to a leadership conference in the Metroplex, and one of the breakout sessions I went to, the person that was leading it was talking about how important it is for, as a staff to if there's somebody that kind of gets off the mission a little bit, you need to go ahead and address it, because he said, here's the deal. What happens is when you're going this way and you veer off just a little bit, at first it doesn't really matter. That's not big a deal, is it? It does. You can't hardly even notice it. But you keep going, the next thing you know, you're way over here. The same thing is in our life. We need to have people in our lives that when we get off track just a little bit, that they're there to say, hey, come on, man. Come on. You need to get back on track. You're veering off a little bit. You're spending a lot of time at work right now. You're spending a lot of time in your hobbies right now. Your family's not exactly a priority on your list. We need those people in our lives. And it's not fun. We don't want those people talking to us. And I, for one, struggle when I'm called out. Okay, I have one of those faces, I may not say anything, but you know what I'm saying, It's coming out. You can see it. So whenever I get called out, even though I need to be called out, you can tell that I don't like what you're saying. I'm not listening to you very much. But we need those friends in our lives. Here's hear me say this. I'm going to say it in a way and try to say it right. We need the friends in our lives that are willing for a season to sacrifice the relationship because they love us more than the relationship. They know that I'm going. They know that you're going in the wrong path, and they're willing to come in love and say, hey, listen, you're going in the wrong direction. And you may walk away from that relationship, you may push back, but they love you too much to allow you to keep going in the wrong direction. So who's in your power five? When you think about those people, when you think about those characteristics, who is in your power five? Look at your life right now. Is that where you want to be? Is that where you want to be in your life? Are those the people that you would say, hey, I want these people helping direct me to my future? And so I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think about it. We're going to land the plane here, and I want you to think about, there's going to be two questions I'm going to give you, or two statements, whatever it is. I can't remember what they are, but we're going to do them anyhow. The first thing I want you to ask yourself this question, but I want you to be honest with yourself. Look at this question. Do you desire to have the right friends? Do you desire to have the right friends? Most of us in here, if I were to sit down with you, you'd say, yeah, I want the right friends. Do you? Do you? Because here's the deal. Those types of relationships are not easy. Those types of relationships require work. They require openness. They require you being real. They require them being real. That requires difficult conversations. It requires work. And we love everything until it requires something of us, don't we? And I would love to have those kind of friends in my life. Of course, I want someone to hang out with me that loves Jesus. I want somebody that's going to encourage me and care for me. Who wouldn't want those people in your life? But what about the challenge part and the calling you out part? I like that other stuff, but man, kind of don't step into my business here. I won't get in your business, you don't get into my business. That's not the right kind of friend. So maybe you push back on those types of friends because they're the ones that come up to you and say, hey, great job at work. You need to work on your marriage. Man, I see that you're spending a lot of time with God and His Word. How's your prayer life coming? You need those people that are going to see as you are drifting away, that they come in and face to face, eyeball to eyeball, in love and compassion, they look at you and say, hey, listen, you're going in the wrong direction. I love you too much to let you continue down that path. We need those types of people. Is that the types of friends you're looking for? Because if you are, you will benefit so much, and they will help your life be so much better. And it'll make not just 25 great, but it'll make the rest of your life great because it impacts your future. But it's not enough just to say you do. You've got to work at figuring out how to get those friendships. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? So you open up your hands and look, who are my friends? Who are my friends? Okay, maybe you're here today and you're saying, dude, I've got 5 and I got 2 to spare. I got some great friends in my life and they're on point and it's awesome. And to you, I'd say great, awesome, perfect. Some of you may be saying, I got 2, but these other 3 are kind of going in a direction I probably don't need to go in. In fact, they kind of take me with them sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you got 4 friends, but there's that one that's not helping the process. Maybe you look at your hand and you go, honestly, Rocky, I have none. I have none. So if you want those kind of friends, if that's the kind of friends you desire, how are you going to find them? Leads us to the next question. Where can you find the right friends? Back in the 80s, there was a song by Johnny Lee. Looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love. I had to do that because Chris said that he would fire me if I didn't get a lyric of a song in a message. And so I had to squeeze that in there. But here's the deal. This is the deal, okay? A lot of times we say we want those types of friends, but we're looking in the wrong place. We're looking in the wrong place. We're not looking where those friends can come alive and be part of our life. So my question is, are you in the right place? And let me start by saying this. You are. Okay? Right now, the first step, you are in the right place. Not just Grace Fellowship, but being in a church. There's people all around you that love Jesus, want to encourage you, lift you up, and care for you. So you're in the right place. And I applaud you for being here. But it's time to take one more step. It's time to take one more step. Because where you're sitting right now, it may be as difficult as you think it may be. That next step in is going to be even more hard. It's joining a group. It's getting out of the big and getting into the small. It's getting around some people, a smaller group that can speak into your life. We have groups of all kinds of groups. We have men's groups, women's groups, married groups, young adult groups. We have groups and they're meeting in different places and everything like that. So you can plug into a group. You can take your chance on getting plugged into a group and trying to figure out you may find one Power 5 friend. You may have five Power 5 friends. I don't know. But you're going to have to take that risk and take that step into engaging that. And here's the deal. If that first time it doesn't work out, guess what? Try another group. Keep trying. When I was in 7th grade, into my 7th grade year, Kelly, just a minute, she broke up with me. I gave her the best 3 weeks of my life. And she dumped me. And it hurt. It hurt real bad. And, but you know what? I didn't quit dating. Just imagine if I'd have called it quits at that moment. Just think of all the ladies that would have missed out. Man, just think about that for a second. And think about my wife that's been blessed for 32 years of being married with me. How crazy would that be? But you know, we do that in getting in a group. We try a group, and it doesn't work. I tried. I did it. Gave it a shot. Did you? Take that step. Engage in a group. And don't just give it 1 week or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks like Kelly did. Give it a little bit longer. And maybe you find a Power 5 friend, maybe you don't. You develop some relationships, and then you say, well, let me try another group and see if I can do it. That's okay. That's okay. But stepping into that group and stepping into those relationships are risky. And so many times we are so protective that we don't want to be hurt. And our pride prevents us from opening up and allowing those relationships to step in and be who we need them to be. So take that step. On the QR code in the seat back in front of you, you can scan that QR code and it's join a group. Give it a shot. Give it a try. Take a chance. Because you need those 5 people in your life that are going to help you be not just the best you can be, but who God designed you to be. And you need those people in your life. So take that chance. Now, I'll say this too, really quick. Parents, one of the things about our children's ministry and student ministry is we are very focused on groups. We want the students, we want the children to be in a small group so they can get to know their friends and get to know their leader. And this is something I would encourage you to do. Show up consistently to church so they can develop those relationships, but also stay in the same service. And I know sometimes you have to bounce a little bit because kids oversleep or something's going on or whatever. But if you come to the 11 o'clock service, come consistently to this service so they can consistently engage with the same group and the same leader. And it allows them to develop those relationships that can now be their Power 5 relationships. And eventually those relationships will change. I know that. But allow them to be part of that relationship. So who's your Power 5? Look at your hand. Who's there? I'm not saying kick people out of your family, kick people out of your life. But who are the 5 people that need to be the most influential people in your life? It's going to take intentionality. It's going to take risk. It's going to take putting yourself out there. But I can promise you this, when it happens, you will not just come alive in 25, you will come alive for the rest of your life. Because God never created us to not be in a relationship. Do not miss out on what God has in store for you through those relationships and also for your future. Look at this statement one last time. Your choice of friends determines your choice of future. It doesn't matter if you're 8 or if you're 80. The friends that you are choosing now will be the choice you're making for your future. Are they going to get you where you want to be? Are they going to give you the life, help you get the life that God so much wants you to have? Who are your Power 5? It's your choice. It doesn't just happen. You work at it. Put yourself out there. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your love. God, thank you for today. Thank you that you created us as relational beings. And Lord, I thank you that everybody in this room, there is 5 people that you have picked out for them to help them be the best version of themselves, who you've called them to be. God, would you help them find those relationships? It's in your son's name I pray.